Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
This is the best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
I'm not going to lie to you. That's the music I needed this morning. Little peppy, happy, get us going here. Good Thursday morning. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here. I've got my sexy voice.
Yes, you do. You got that cold working, so you got the voice down. You got a long day today. You get to do, are you calling it? Is it a Sports Center special?
I don't know.
What are you allowed to call it anymore?
Coming on tonight, 8 o'clock.
A couple hours, so we get to find out the schedule, which, I know everybody is always all in on. There's some actually news with the NFL that I like even more than that.
Which we will get into.
We'll certainly get into. But I'm going to tell you this. I would love, and I can't remember at any time in my life, maybe when I was wrestling and I was wrestling against somebody who you knew wasn't very good, where I could go out and knew I could kind of have my way. But that's in a small wrestling match. Would have liked to have been, as a professional or big-time player, go out in a game and just say, you know what? I'm just going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be LeBron and just say, you know what? I'm just going to go take control of this game early on.
And there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Not one thing any of you can really do to stop me.
I would like to be able to do that in any facet of my life. Like, there's no area in my existence.
I kind of think you did this morning, by the way. As I was coming in, listening first and last, before Golic and Wingo came on, I thought you dominated today.
You know what?
Poper Fire.
Poper Fire is a good one. Word to Will Kane on that one. We'll maybe hear eventually how we got to that. But yeah, stole Poper Fire from Will Kane inadvertently. But even with that, like, if one of my bosses decides that they don't like Poper Fire, I get squashed on that, and I lose that battle because I'm not LeBron James, and I don't get to go out there and steamroll my way to the hoop and get to 16 points faster than anyone in playoff history and all that stuff. I mean, there's a different level that exists for this guy that us mere mortals can't touch.
Well, listen, I've got my Tom Thibodeau voice going, so I'm very excited about that. So let's get going. But again, if you didn't catch it, we'll talk about it later. Poper Fire will be the game show that sweeps Radio Nation today.
It's time for
Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, let's get to Off the Top. It's brought to you by Samsung. It's a great time to let go with the Samsung Spring for Something New event. Upgrade and save on the latest Samsung appliances. Stop at your local retailers or Samsung.com. And you know who could have stopped at Samsung and gotten whatever he wanted last night? That would be LeBron James. Because the Cavs beat the Pacers 197. They evened the series at one game apiece because LeBron apparently was coachable. What did Ty Lue say? Go out there and do stuff, and he did stuff.
Yeah, he did stuff, but he says that's not the reason he did stuff. He said that was Coach Lue, that wasn't me. I just play the game the way I play the game. Blah, 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 whatever. We all saw this coming. Everybody knew this narrative, even from the first game narrative of when he likes to get other people involved, and it didn't work because they missed shots, so you knew he was going to take charge, and that's what he did. And there's all kind of numbers associated with this. You know, he outscored the Pacers alone 20-18 in the first quarter as they took a 33-18 to lead. It's ridiculous what he did. All that said, Mike, they led the entire game, but the lead was down to 3 late in that game. Kevin Love played well, then got his thumb bent back, which we're going to talk about. Didn't play for the last.
Looked terrible.
It did look bad. X-rays were negative, and it was his non-shooting hand, which is good, but it looked bad. Kyle Korver hit some shots, but nobody else did. LeBron went off out of his mind, and it was a game late. If I'm the Pacers, I'm going back to Indiana saying, you know what? Feel pretty good about our chances going back home.
They're the better basketball team. They're the better basketball team in pretty much every other facet. And it's easy to say that the Cavaliers won this on the strength of just LeBron James' sheer force of will. But they also won on the fact that Victor Oladipo just wasn't on the court for most of the first half because of foul trouble. And when you saw the way that he was just so effortlessly getting whatever he wanted in the second half, you realize even with everything LeBron James did, if Victor Oladipo just doesn't get a couple of silly fouls in the first couple minutes of this game, I'm not sure Indiana doesn't win last night and go back up 2-0 in this series. They're so far the better basketball team that for the first time, I might doubt LeBron James and the Cavs.
I'm a Cavalier fan, obviously, being from Cleveland. I think they're going to make it to the finals, but I'm not kidding, Trey. At the end of that game, I was just like, wow, I have some doubts with this one.
Well, look, there has to be somebody else besides LeBron James to do things like LeBron James. Not at the same level, but there needs to be more of a contribution from somebody else. And clearly, that was the thing that was not missing, or was missing last night. Again, as you said, he scored those 16 points in the first 5 minutes, the most points in the first 5 minutes of any player in the last 20 postseasons. And it was down. Now, the three at the end looks a little different because they hit it. It was a 6-point game when they hit a three at the end of it, but it got close and a lot closer than anybody in Cleveland wanted it to be, considering how well that game started for them.
Off the top.
Staying in the NBA, the Jazz beat the Thunder 102-95 to even their series at 1 game apiece. Donovan Mitchell has scored 55 points in his first 2 playoff games, passing a guy named Michael Jordan for the most by a rookie guard in the last 50 seasons.
Yeah, it's 5th overall as far as a rookie in the first 2 playoff games, but the name above them are, the David Robinsons, Wilt Chamberlains, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, the big men of the league, and not this guard. He was absolutely on fire, and on fire late. That was the key because who wasn't on fire late? Anybody from Oklahoma City in the Big Three. In the first game, the Big Three scored 80 points. In the second game, last night, they scored 54 total. All 3 of them 0 for 14 in the fourth quarter as Donovan Mitchell was going off. And it's got me choked up.
Wow, I
know how you feel.
It's working its way down the table right here. I need you guys to stay the hell away from me. Appreciate that. But Oklahoma City's Big Three outdueled by the Big Three of the Utah Jazz, which includes Donovan Mitchell, Derek Favors, and wait for it, Ricky Bleepin' Rubio.
How about that,
Rubio,
right?
Ricky Man Bun Rubio, by the way. I nominate Ricky Rubio and JJ Redick for the ultimate transformations. When did they both decide to just go out one night, get wasted, and tat their entire bodies? Both of these guys tattooed and overhauled the image, and it appears to have worked. 22 points for Ricky Rubio last night. Favors was an animal on the board. 8 offensive rebounds for them. Those guys really helped carry this team as much as Donovan Mitchell.
Maybe as far as the tattoos, maybe the same night you did that.
I was about to say, who has more tattoos? Either one of them or you?
Yeah.
I mean, at least mine was a gradual progression. I feel like I looked up one night, JJ Redick's got a whole sleeve, and Ricky Rubio's like a new person. I don't know what's going on.
I think you're just jealous because Rubio still has the flowing locks. I mean, he got the man bun, the whole deal.
He went from shaggy Minnesota Timberwolves, Ricky Rubio, now all of a sudden to this man bun. It's much more of a modern look. He's really adjusted to the times well.
Looks like a Bichon Francais or something like that. Looks like a little poodle out there. Hey, but you know what? It was working.
Yeah,
and again, not only did the Big Three for Oklahoma go 0 for 14 from the floor, they only had 2 points.
Yep.
Those 3 guys, if you put those 3 equals 2 in the fourth, no bueno if you're Oklahoma City.
Off the top.
Well, this is interesting. The headline on one of the headlines on ESPN.com said, James Harden's amazing defense makes up for his bad night shooting. I don't know about that. But he went 2 of 18 from the floor, and the Rockets still beat the Timberwolves 102-82.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to, confuse him for Gary Payton and call him the glove or anything like that just yet. But they have played defense better this year.
And he has as well.
We'll give them that. And they do what they do. 52 3-point attempts. 52 of them. That is the Houston Rockets in a nutshell. As far as Minnesota's concerned, listen, after the first quarter, they're winning this game by 5. The rest of the game, they got scored 84-59. Karl Anthony Towns, 2 games now in single digits. Not really coming to the table just yet for his first playoff appearances.
James Harden, after the game, talked about having better players around him that helped buoy him through a bad night. You could just stop with that. Houston's just got better players. They're a better team across the board. They're better coached. It's a better system. And that's apparent. You're reminded in the NBA because you look up here and it seems futile right now for the Timberwolves. To your point, that lead got erased like it was nothing.
Yeah, it did.
Last night. And you feel like that's what's going to happen going forward because like we talked about with San Antonio and with Golden State, you just see in the NBA, the talent is so consistent year to year and so reliable and predictable that how else can we look at the series other than just saying Houston's just flat out better than Minnesota and they're consistent enough to impose that night in and night out?
What have we said all regular season, though, about James Harden? Yeah, but, right? Let's see what happens in the postseason. So knowing that was sort of the benchmark for him, where is your level of concern after 8? He says he's not worried, but 2 of 18.
You know what? I think those would be far and few between, and you have the guy named Chris Paul who pours in 27 to help make up for the difference. Did you see that floater he put in that went 40 feet in the air? It was ridiculous. It was impressive. Yep. It was absolutely ridiculous. The only concern I have, if you're a Rockets fan, is like, we've seen this from Harden before in the postseason, and we can't have that again if we want to get to where we want to get to.
Off the top.
As we continue off the top, give me the good stuff, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The NFL is going to release the entire 2018 schedule Thursday night, 8 Eastern, on NFL.com. And, of course, here at ESPN, we'll have the 2-hour schedule release. We're looking forward to that. I'll be manning the ship there. The 2018 NFL regular season begins on Thursday, September 6th, concludes on Sunday, December 30th. And that's the interesting thing. No games into January this year.
Right. And the one thing from a player side of it, when a player looks at a schedule, obviously you know who you're playing within your division.
Bye week.
You look at the schedule, it's exactly right. You look when your bye week is, you look at the other teams you're playing, because the first thing you think about is your individual matchup. As a D lineman, I'm like, who are the guards and center on that team? Oh, Lord, that's a really good one. And, where are you traveling to? So from a player standpoint, and then I've always said this, Mike, I don't care how you leave a team. If you're on a different team that following year, when you go back and play that team, there's always I want to show you something. And we're getting more than a few of those. Obviously, Richard Sherman faces the Seahawks twice with the 49ers. Case Keenum now with the Broncos. He faces the Texans. Sam Bradford faces the Rams and the Vikings. Deion Lewis and Malcolm Butler now with the Titans.
Sam Bradford's playing all the hits this year.
That's exactly right. Deion Lewis and Malcolm Butler with the Titans now face the Patriots. And Jimmy Graham, Packers tight end, now faces the Seahawks. You always want that little extra when you're going against a team that you're not with anymore.
And I feel like the Malcolm Butler one has to be at the top of the list, considering more continues to pour out about that when we heard from Danny Amendola the other day. Everyone's got something to say about that one. We'll see if it can top the actual drama week 1 last year when the Saints and Vikings played, and you had Adrian Peterson, the short-lived New Orleans Saint, going up against his former team, and I believe that was the game that gave us all the drama on the sideline with him and Sean Payton and the death stare. So a lot of compelling stuff coming out of that one.
And the most important thing maybe that we've learned, according to Ben Volen of the Boston Globe, kickoffs. Moving up a little more. Mm-hmm. Sunday Night Football will kick off at 8:20 rather than 8:30. Monday Night Football on ESPN will kick off at 8:15 rather than 8:30. And Thursday Night Football, 8:20 rather than 8:25. Look, say what you want, 15 to 10 minutes.
I'll take it.
We'll take it here.
Absolutely, I'll take it. Yes.
And ESPN's getting the Monday night game. The Mexico City game.
Right.
The Mexico City game, I believe, is going to be the Rams against the Chiefs.
We'll certainly find out tonight.
The Marcus Peters Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. So that's good. So we'll get to that again. 2 hours of special of that tonight. Make sure you join us at 8 o'clock.
Off the
As
top.
we continue off the top, I think it's time, and I can't believe we haven't done this already.
As they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
There we go. We finally found the one thing that is impervious to the Philadelphia Eagles' wave of good tidings from winning the Super Bowl, and that thing is Sidney Crosby. Because the Penguins beat the Flyers 5-0 to take a 3-1 series lead and become the 4th team in NHL history to record multiple 5-0 shutouts in a single series, and Sidney Crosby a big reason why.
Yeah, he had 2 points in this one, brings his career total to 173, passing Mario Lemieux for the most in Penguins history, and those two guys are going to be, 1-2 for the history of that team, no doubt about it, in just about every facet. As far as the Penguins and that series, not one game has been close. Even the one game the Flyers won, it wasn't even close. So, but the Penguins getting it done. The Sharks beat the Ducks. Sharks sweep that series. Jones, their goalie, stopped 128 of 132 shots in the series. Pretty impressive. Lightning beat the Devils. Lightning lead that series 3-1, and our boy Jason Fitz going to be very happy. The Predators beat the Avalanche 3-2, and they lead that series 3-1.
Now, Sidney Crosby's only 30 years old, but he's been in the NHL since, 2005?
Yeah,
so
he's the LeBron of the NHL.
He came in the NHL at 4.
And I guess that's my point, is that's kind of the comparison you're looking at, is just how consistently great he continues to be. You continue to see plays like that wraparound goal from behind the cage and all these spots where he just continues to show his dominance over such a long stretch of time. He's been that force in the NHL, and much like LeBron, he's got the hardware to boot for it in the postseason. This isn't an Alexander Ovechkin where we constantly talk about wasted potential there. You talk about a guy who not only has dominated but continues to, and now seems like he's on the cusp of going for that three-peat with the Penguins this year. So it's one of those where we get to take that time to step back and marvel at what we've been allowed to watch.
Trying to do something last done by the New York Islanders in the early 80s when they won 4 straight Stanley Cups, win 3 straight. It is interesting that the Penguins are going for a 3rd straight Stanley Cup, yet the odds makers now in Vegas, of all places, have made the Preds and the Vegas Knights co-favorites now to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, is that little home book advantage? Is that what that is?
There's some bias working in there.
Do they do that out there? They build those big buildings. They don't really do that by having bias, do they?
I think the only thing they have bias for is profit.
Exactly.
That more than anything else. But look, obviously the Penguins are off to a great start. And what we're getting up to the timer.
Yeah, we are.
What the Vegas Knights have done is really good.
There you go.
Yes. Stuck the landing.
We've been limited to each subject to 2 minutes? 2.5 minutes.
Whatever they decide in there, behind the glass. And that's the penalty box.
Just don't mention penalty boxes, or the Lebatard show will get mad at us for that too.
Why? Why? I thought they were the shipping container of whatever it was.
No, they've got a penalty box they send their guys into, though. It's a whole thing. So
they've invented everything, so we can't say anything.
Don't step on the bit.
Can we call it? We'll go with Anchorman, a glass cage of emotion.
There you go.
We'll do that.
Yeah, right? Exactly. We'll do the therapy couch.
Yeah. Okay. So, no, don't do that, because then that'll also. Well, Stu Gatz will come on later and he'll be all upset about it.
Well,
so again, back to what we started off the top with: the Cavs take Game 2, and that's what everybody's talking about. Brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the know. Start with Lowe's. Go to Lowe'sForPros.com for details. I love the way that one just rolls off.
That does roll right off your tongue. That was very well done.
So what did Ty Lue say? We need LeBron to be more aggressive. Well, I think you couldn't ask for a better start, as he scored their first 16 points at 46 in the night. So everyone's like, hey, LeBron, you're coachable. You took your coach's advice. Everyone saying that except, of course, LeBron.
I didn't come into the game saying I want to be assertive. Coach Lue said it. I never said. I said I'm going to play my game. And I did that tonight. And I made some shots early, got into a rhythm. Defensively, I wanted to be in tune. I wanted to try to get my guys involved as well. But I mean, I don't come in the game saying I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to do that. It just kind of happens to flow of the game. I play the game the right way, and that's just the result of it. So,
I think that was the least surprising thing of all time, by the way, that LeBron would come out and put on a show after what happened. By the way, again, in Game 1, he did have a triple-double.
He had a triple-double, but he didn't make one shot out of the restricted area.
Yes.
So last night he did. Last night he was hitting jumpers. And
that's one of my favorite terms, by the restricted area.
Dun, dun, dun. But it definitely is a big deal, because now you can just kind of sink back and let him take the shot if he's going to miss it. Now he's hitting him on the outside. He was guarded by the big men for the Pacers a lot last night, and he took advantage of it. He was hitting mid-rangers right over the top of them, and then you're like, okay, he's hitting jumpers. We know he can drive the lane. That's going to be an issue now both ways, and now getting the other guys involved. Love hitting shots. Kyle Korver into the starting lineup. He was hitting shots, and that was the 2 changes. It was J.R. Smith and Kyle Korver both ended up in the starting lineup. They changed 2 slots there. Brett, what was the line last night in the game?
Cavs were favored by 8.
Cavs were favored by 8. I thought that last 3 that really meant nothing.
Might have meant something.
I thought the line was like 4, and they were up 6, and it dropped it down to 3, but it did not. Yeah, that was the most predictable thing there was last night, that LeBron was just going to come out and take charge early in this game. Now, did we know it was going to go to a level that we wouldn't see in the last 20 postseasons? Probably not. But still, you knew he was going to go out and take control. Whether we want to admit that was Ty Lue him doing it, or that's just kind of his MO after the previous game.
Yeah, LeBron likes control. He doesn't like the idea that anyone would be affecting the way that he's going to play the game, even though we know he hears and listens and adjusts accordingly in a lot of situations. What's interesting about this is, what was everyone shouting from the outside? LeBron James needs to take over. Just needs to put his head down and get to the basket and do all this stuff. And then I get to the broadcast and I hear Chris Webber and everyone talking and saying, well, Indiana can at least take solace in the fact that no one else on the Cavs is scoring right now.
That's the bigger question, is it not?
And it is. And I even thought going into this game, I'm like, yeah, okay, you can say that, but LeBron James is hitting jump shots. He can create that space in the paint for himself by loosening up defense and showing them now you have to respect his jump shot. But we saw that clearly, even with Korver and Love playing well enough, that it's still going to take some effort from the rest of these guys, because you and the Cavaliers, you've built this thing in the last couple of years around overwhelming offense. And the defense in stretches last night had some effort, but more often than not, that's a porous outfit defensively. And that offense just wasn't clicking enough on the top end to really give you any confidence in this team.
Well, look at the box score, okay? They scored 100. He had 46.
Yeah.
The rest of the team had 54. Second highest score was Kevin Love with 15. Korver had 12. And then the newcomers, the new Cavs that at the trade deadline, George Hill had 6. And then Larry Nance Jr. had 2. and Rodney Hood had 5. They've got to get more from those guys. They've got to.
Oh, I mean, Jeff Green's been self-checked this entire series. They're just sitting him outside and saying, yeah, we're good. We don't have to worry about this guy. The weird lineup iterations on the floor for this team. There doesn't seem to be a lot of comfort for those role players. George Hill, a ton of foul trouble last night.
And now and you're talking about role players and trying to figure out the role. What's the thought we always hear from our former NBA players is the role players play better at home. Yeah. Well, now they're going on the road. And I'm not kidding.
They got to do better than this.
Yeah, last night, when that game ended, I really did. I thought, you know what? I know they got the win, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah.
Not at all, because how many times have we seen the greats, even going back to Jordan and before, get 40s and 50s and you lose that game?
Yep.
Because the other team says, go ahead, do your thing. We're just going to stop everybody else from doing it. But the Pacers, 2 games now, the Pacers haven't been over 100 points.
Right.
Winning the first game and obviously losing this one.
And that's the interesting thing, because what was the big knock against the Cavs all season? Their defense was terrible.
Yeah.
So they've got 2 games where the Pacers don't get 100 points.
Yeah.
And the other thing, that's a great observation you made about role players usually playing better at home. Remember when all these new Cavs came in? They were terrible at home, and they were much better on the road.
Golic
and Wingo.
and Wingo.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Coming up a little later today, Carlos Boozer, 2-time NBA All-Star, will be in studio. The Stugotz from the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz will join us. And we have some news that I think he might enjoy.
Yes.
So we're going to tease that a little bit. We'll get to that a little later. Dan Dakich, 107.5, 1070 The Fan, will join us as well. And the dreamy one, Kirk Herbstreit, will join us, our college football analyst, a big part of our draft coverage coming up next week. We're excited about that, so that's all ahead. But as we said, it is a 1-1 series now between the Pacers and the Cavs. LeBron did very well, LeBron James things. Next highest scorer on the team was Kevin Love with 15, but that came at what looked like it was going to be a costly price late in the fourth quarter, because Kevin Love missed all that time with a broken hand.
Yes, he did.
In the regular season. And then down the stretch, the basketball sort of bounced off his left thumb, and it looked bad, Mike, when you saw it on the replay.
It looked it was almost like a point blank pass as far as how close it was to him. He had his arms outstretched, and so imagine your palm facing the ball where it's being passed, and it hits the top of the thumb, and you could just see that thumb bent back. And he immediately put that hand behind his back, and you could tell he was in pain. Went to the bench, and you thought, no, that's the same hand he broke. Now, it's a non-shooting hand, which will turn out to be a good thing, because it looks like he's going to play, especially when we play a Ty Lue sound. But when that first happened, you had to think, no, the one guy you want to count on after LeBron James, and he gets his left hand that was broken hit again.
Yeah, I mean, what a bad bit of luck this already is for Kevin Love. Could have been a lot worse, we understand. But yeah, LeBron's looking for people he can rely on, and that list of guys right now consistently is very short and basically begins and ends with Kevin Love on a nightly basis.
Absolutely. And
thank you.
Well, I'm trying not to cough every 7 seconds. But you're right.
Wow.
You're right. You're right. Wow, that was the force was strong.
That was there, wasn't it?
I got the full Golic wave there in a double dose. My goodness, you couldn't do that again on cue if you tried.
No, we're not going to.
Not going to.
So, as you alluded to, Kevin Love, obviously, it looked bad. It looks like he's going to be okay. They did take X-rays after the game. They were negative. He's going to be fine. And Ty Lue was asked about it after the game, and his response was interesting.
Is there an update on Kevin?
He's good.
Okay.
Okay.
Is he getting an X-ray?
No, he's good. He just a little jammed thumb, a little whatever, but he's fine.
Okay. Then how come he didn't come back in?
Because we had a good flow going.
Okay. So he's okay.
He's
for
great.
Game 2.
Yes, sir. Ready to go. Game 3.
Game 3.
Yes, sir.
He's good.
He's good.
All right, we're good. Fine.
Good to go.
Nothing to see here. It's all good. It's all good.
Fine. That was
Kevin, you good?
Yeah, you good. I'm good.
All good.
You up? All right, we're good.
Luckily, the X-rays were negative, because man, what a scary thought that would be, because they haven't found anybody else yet to pick up any slack at all. That would have been brutal for them if they were to lose him.
That's the one thing that they can't lose anymore. They absolutely can't have that. Then there was a situation after the game. Very sad to report that Greg Popovich's wife of over 4 decades, I believe, passed away at the age of 67. She'd been in an illness for a long time. And LeBron James obviously is very close to Greg Popovich.
Yes.
Pop was on a USA basketball team as assistant coach in 2004 when LeBron made his Olympic debut.
And this happened during the game so much that
game.
TNT kind of cut in while play was going on to make the announcement to tell everybody that Aaron Popovich had passed away after this long illness. So we were all it started to hit Twitter world, and then we found out during the game as well.
So after the game, Allie LaForce, who was doing the sideline commentating for TNT, had LeBron James, and she whispered to LeBron, "Hey, I'm going to ask you about this." And this was LeBron's response to the question on Greg Popovich's wife passing away.
LeBron, during this game, we got the really devastating news. The Spurs announced that Coach Popovich's wife, officially passed away. I know you're close with Pop. Any words or thoughts you'd like to share with him?
I mean, I'm a huge Pop fan. That's such a tragedy, and my best wishes goes out to Pop and his family. I know that's devastating news, and it's just a lot. I mean, the NBA family, we all stick together. I know we compete every night, but something like this happens, it puts everything in perspective.
So that's LeBron getting very emotional.
Yeah, and again,
real emotions.
First and foremost, obviously, the condolences to Greg Popovich.
Absolutely.
And obviously his kids with the passing of their mom, a couple of grandkids, I believe.
Yes.
As well. It's just, again, dealing with a long illness, a horrible situation. But then the way this went down, I mean, and again, we see it on social media, the vitriol that went on about Allie LaForce. There's a couple of things here. Asking the question, there are a lot of people saying, why are you asking the question here? And are you blindsiding LeBron with it? And you could clearly see that she was talking to him before she interviewed him. And all of us in this business, and, Mike, you and I call games. We deal with sideline reporters all the time. We know what they do, and they're not going to blindside somebody like this. Allie LaForce, I think, handled everything as professional as you can. You can question whether you should bring that up in a general sense of bringing up that question at that point, but I don't really have a problem with that either in the immediacy of things. But as far as her getting a lot of grief on Twitter world, I completely disagree with that. I thought she handled it incredibly well.
She did. The problem is we're dealing with an area that people don't really understand or care to. People simplify the role of the sideline reporter more often than not in the general sort of public view. And so they saw that moment where, LeBron still, even after being alerted, is still processing that in a matter of, maybe less than a minute and trying to formulate thoughts. So looked shocked, looked surprised, looked to be processing that grief all in real time. And that for a lot of people was jarring. Now, it had, I think you saw the reason why they decided to ask that question there. And that's the other thing is Allie LaForce did not come to that question on her own. That was the first place I started with all this is, that's a decision you make with the director, with everyone else involved. We know this is coming up. We know their relationship. How do we want to handle this? And then Allie just happens to be the mouthpiece. So she's asked to go and stand out there. And the most encouraging thing about all of this was the way that Turner stepped up and had her back, because that is a very lonely place, the way that all that attack was going on and the way it persisted, and for them to respond as quickly as they did with a statement coming out that she had talked to him before, with Ernie Johnson coming out of that TNT halftime to say that to me was the biggest positive that came out of that portion of the situation.
That was great that they did that, but the fact that they had to do that was ridiculous for crying out loud. That's the thing that I can't understand, why this was the pitchfork moment for Twitter last night. And not only did Turner have Allie LaForce's back, LeBron James had Allie LaForce's back. He heard about the backlash as he was going home after the game, and this is what he posted on his website, uninterrupted.
A lot of people feel like I was blindsided. That is absolutely false. Allie LaForce told me that she was going to ask me the question and if it was okay. And once I started talking about it, once we were on air, actually my emotions just kind of took over. And that was just my emotions coming straight from my heart about the late Aaron, Popovich.
So, again, let's be clear. Here's what happened. Allie LaForce did her job and said, hey, I want to ask you about this. He seemed okay with it. She was asked the question. His true emotions came out, again, because they're very close going back to their days with USA Basketball. And as you just heard from LeBron, those were my actual emotions. I was not blindsided in any way, shape, or form. So can everybody stand down now? Can we just stand down?
Here's what aggravates me. I mean, there's a grandmother, a mother, and a man's wife who passed away. And this is where this went?
Exactly.
This is where this went? You want to criticize the person for asking the question? I mean, she just passed away. I mean, that's where the thought was. And LeBron's a guy who knows him very well. That's You're getting his emotion. You're getting his response to that. That's what everybody's going to be doing last night and today, is responding and giving condolences to Greg and the family. I mean, that should be the focus here. And all of a sudden, the Twitter world makes the focus on Allie LaForce and whether he asks a question or not. I mean, my God.
You know what? Obviously, this is the way that we operate, which is not for better or for worse. It's for worse, the response online. But I will defend somewhat, because I truly think people on the outside don't understand all of the stuff that goes into that.
Right.
And they look at it as, for LeBron James, they're looking at it and saying, that's not fair to him, a guy who's dealing with someone who he knew and is having to process in this. That seemed to me, it at least came from a place where it's like, this isn't fair to this guy. Now, then it turned the wrong direction and went after Allie, and that's the unfortunate part of this. It goes into that, but that's the one thing I will say is I can understand when people just don't know as much about this process, and me having gone through the process of calling games for the first time. I mean, the first thing I thought of, though, was when Reggie White died and they brought you in to do NFL Live, and you knew full well about it going in, but when you got into studio and you see it and you process it, there's still that emotional response for the first time. And so, because then it turned to, was LeBron forcing it and acting after that if he did know?
It went in directions that were ridiculous.
It was all just a kind of absurd. And when you boil it down, all of this made sense. It was all the simplest possible version of the result. So cooler heads prevail, but it just kind of showed you this is the way we process things now online in real time.
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night, no doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Every deck is made for standing on, but there's only one that's always had a way of standing out. So if you're looking to bring more style, comfort, and creativity to your life outdoors, call on the brand that's known for making the most in outdoor living. From decking, railing, and lighting to furniture, fencing, and framing, at Trex, we're engineering what's next in outdoor living. To learn more about all of the outdoor solutions Trex has to offer, call 1-800-289-TREX or visit Trex.com. That's TREX.com.
We're lucky enough to have a guy like the guy who's joining us in studio. Two-time NBA All-Star Carlos Boozer joins us in studio, giving us a straight talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Can I give him some straight talk right now?
Yeah.
You look way too fresh for this show.
Way too nice.
Way too fly. We are slobs. Just so you know, our entire goal in this studio is to eventually make it so filthy that vermin are here. That's the whole point.
Allie, the quicker you get a picture of him out on our social media, that's teal, is it not?
Yeah, it's teal.
I think it's seafoam.
I want to bring a little Miami to y'all this morning.
Oh, good call.
Considering it's 37 and sleeting, we'll take all the Miami you want to bring.
You look fantastic, and we look forward to it. So real quickly, that open there was when Draymond Green got kicked in the ding-ding, and he usually has done that to others, so we were nicknaming that and talking about how sophomore humor is always fun.
Right.
And I've always said when you're brought up as an athlete up through time, through the levels, if you get hit there, grab another body part. Were you taught the same thing to kind of make sure you're not showing that you got hit there, or if you can do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a tough thing for anybody. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to try to deflect the pain, but the pain's still there.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what you grab, it's still there.
Reflex is reflex.
Yeah, it is.
No
I thought you always say grab a shoulder or something.
Why? Why?
But my shoulder doesn't hurt.
I thought you were going to go with your geometry question. He really breaks this down.
Okay.
When you're hit in the little...
straight shot.
And the chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Straight shot or Yamo will be there up and under.
Or up and under is way worse.
Straight shot's
way worse.
Way worse. I don't know. It's just... The whole area is a sensitive area, so anytime you get hit, and especially with the velocity you can get kicked with.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, I mean, they may play basketball or football, but they could be karate kickers, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you never
UFC.
You never want to get in a scrum in a football game. Trust me, in the pig pile, because they will grab anything
I've heard stories.
to get you to
Things
release
happen.
that football.
Things happen. What happens in a pile stays in a pile.
Unlike these days, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. All right, Carlos Boozer here with us again, two-time NBA All-Star. Hey, the Cavs won Game 2. That's great, but your level of concern over how they won it is what?
Super high. I mean, I'm gonna be on a red alert because even though LeBron had an incredible night, 46 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, incredible evening. They won by 3. And let's be honest, the shot that Oladipo had with about 25 seconds left or whatever it was could have tied the ball game up and it could be going to overtime or maybe even swing in Indiana's favor. So to me, I'd be on high alert. That's an easy switch that Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith could have had right there. But the bottom line is moving forward, I'm in big concern because it takes LeBron to have almost 50 for you guys to win by 3.
Yeah. Yeah, LeBron and Kevin Love, who hurt his thumb, x-rays were negative on that. It looks like he's going to play as a non-shooting hand, the hand that he broke. They took 40 shots. The rest of the team took 33. Conversely, I said earlier, if I'm the Pacers, I'm going back to Indiana saying, you know what? We got the split, which is what you want to do. And even the game we lost, don't feel too bad about the way it went.
No, if I'm Indiana, I feel great. Obviously we went up there, we stole the game. We almost got another one. We're going back to our house in Indiana. Oladipo's not missing that shot in Indiana. No. And the thing about the Cleveland Cavaliers, which we've been talking about pretty much all season, they've been bad defensively all year. This might be one of the worst defensive teams.
But they've held the Pacers to under 100 points in 2 straight games.
What does that say?
Crazy.
Which is interesting. So it's, it's a little, there's not an exact science here, but the bottom line is their defense almost hurt them again last night. And how do you fix that in a day?
All right, so they have to fix the defense a little bit because you have to believe, as you said, that Oladipo and others will be making more shots at home.
Right.
But they also got to fix the others.
Yes,
because
true.
as you said, LeBron had 46 and the team scored 100.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So the rest of the team combined for 54.
Right.
Kevin Love was the next highest score at 15,
right.
31 points less than LeBron. He had the scare on a thumb, but it looks like he's going to be okay. So let's assume that Love is okay and gives you 20 and 10, all right? Who else? Is it Larry Nance? Is it Hood? Is it Hill? Who else has to step up and provide offense for this team?
I think obviously we're hoping that Kevin Love plays because for LeBron's hoping he plays because for LeBron, he's the most consistent guy that he has.
And Ty Lewis said he's going to play for
Okay,
Game 3,
good.
so we're good there. But besides those two, there's got to be a third guy.
Yeah, I'm thinking off the top of my head, maybe J.R. Smith. Obviously he's had great games in the playoffs before. He has good experience. Kyle, I thought Korver had a good offensive game last night, gave him a good lift. But the other guys, you think about it, this is Clarkson's first playoff series. So he's obviously trying to find his rhythm. Rodney Hood's trying to find his rhythm as well. They didn't play Tristan Thompson. He's not a very much offensive guy, but he gets offensive rebounds.
Right.
So that's second possession. It might be by committee.
Yeah.
Or it might not happen at all.
Well, that's what happened last night.
LeBron might have to get 45 every night.
So I obviously defer to guys that have played this particular sport. When we talk about role players, I always hear from former players that the role players play better at home than on the road.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then the Cavs are really in trouble, aren't they?
Yeah, no.
Is that a true thing? Did you find through your years?
Especially younger guys. The guys that haven't been in the playoffs a lot, that haven't had that playoff experience. The younger guys, the others, usually play better at home, but maybe they felt too much pressure. I'm not sure what it was, to be honest. They got pretty good shots. Obviously, LeBron being a great facilitator.
First game, they got great shots.
Yeah, they got. He had a triple-double, so obviously the guys was hitting. In Indiana, the stakes are going to be much higher. We're moving on to games 3 and 4 in the series. Indiana's going to be very confident, as we talked about, because they only lost by 3, even though LeBron had 46. So you're going to need those guys. The pressure's going to be on them even more now because it's going to be on the road. They haven't played very well, except for LeBron and maybe a little bit of Kevin Love. So the pressure will be on them even more. It's going to really find out what they're really made of.
Carlos Boozer with us in studio, our NBA analyst, 2-time NBA All-Star. Big game tonight, by the way, in Miami. 76ers having split the first 2 games at home, go down to take on the Heat. Maybe the most pressure-packed game for this franchise in, 5-6 years. And it looks like Joel Embiid is not going to play again. Okay. It looks like he's doubtful right now. What's your level of concern about Philadelphia in the first real test that we've seen in many, many years for this squad?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough test for them. Going on the road, obviously they want to win. Obviously, we all had them picked high, maybe to win this series in 5 or 6, just because of the season that they had, the regular season that they had. They ended up getting home court in the playoffs. But if Dwayne Wade's playing like that with 2 days of rest,
but can he?
We're going to find out.
Yeah, I was going to say, can he do that? That's the question, right?
He's the one guy on that Heat team that has any kind of success in the postseason, so he can rest his body. I'm sure he didn't practice too hard these last 2 days. I'm hoping his knees feel good for him. But it was great to see Flash back out there playing like that. The thing that really worries me is Hassan Whiteside. If you can get Hassan Whiteside to give you a lift, because last game I think he had played 14 minutes, maybe had 4 points or something like that.
What's going on with that? I mean, is his style is it completely being archaic now in the league? Is it after he got a big deal?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem like his style is fitting anymore.
Yeah, I think you might be right. There might be part of it, but I'm also thinking for myself, for him, you don't have to score the ball to make a big impact in the game. You can get rebounds, you can get block shots, you can be a you could be a DeAndre Jordan, be a defensive anchor for your team and be all over the place. And then you can score too. But there's other ways to throw yourself into a game when you're struggling or having a tough time. Go out there, some mean pick, go get every rebound. You could be an incredible asset for that team defensively and be a wall in the paint, and then the offense will obviously come. But when you focus so much on scoring and you're not getting the ball, what are you going to do about that? You got to do something else to help your team win.
I know in my sport, with a guy coming back from an injury, first and foremost, the doctor has to clear you. So now once the doctor clears you, normally they always say, well, you ask the player. And I'm like, why would you ask the player? 99% of players want to play.
No question.
So with Joel Embiid, if he is at all, obviously if you're not cleared to play, there's no question. How do you deal with it if he is? You just say, go out there and play because he wants to play. How do you deal with that situation?
Yeah, it depends on who you are. I've been injured before in playoff series, and the series is tied at 2-2 or whatever it is, and I'm not necessarily cleared, but I want to play, and I know my body better than the doctor does, so I go play. We've seen that with Kobe Bryant. We've seen that with other stars in the NBA. Dwayne Wade's done it before too. Allen Iverson, many guys. So at the end of the day, it comes down to him and how comfortable he feels about his eye. If it gets hit, I saw the mask that he was wearing around a little bit. But I don't know if they necessarily need him right now. If they go down, 2-1, in Miami's favor, I'm bringing him back in Game 4. I need him, but otherwise, if we don't, then maybe we lose the series, which is a series that I think they're very favored in, especially with Embiid.
We talk about LeBron because he's LeBron and the Cavaliers, and we talk about Toronto because they're the number 1 seed. Are we not talking enough about what the Boston Celtics have done? Wow. They have won 2 games against what we thought would be a very competitive series so far against the Milwaukee Bucks. One went to overtime because of a couple of crazy threes, and they handled their business in Game 2. But look, Hayward gone since Game 1. Kyrie Irving not there. And they've just had different guys step up every night. Jason Tatum's played very well. Yes. Al Horford has been great down the stretch. They just have found a way to get it done. Are we sleeping on this team?
I think we are sleeping on them because there's no star. There's no Kyrie Irving down the stretch of the games. There's obviously no Hayward. We miss him all season long. But they've been great. Rozier's been amazing without Kyrie in the postseason. Obviously, Tatum and Brown have grown up right in front of our eyes this year, seeing them develop without Hayward being there. And obviously Horford, with his experience, has done great for this team. They're very good. And despite the Greek Freaks' incredible start to the postseason, averaging over 30 points a game and over 10, 12 rebounds a game, they're still up 2-0 going to Milwaukee.
So out in the West, Houston gets the win. Harden doesn't have a great game, but Chris Paul does. And we pretty much believe they're going to be right around there at the end. Golden State not showing any ill effects of Steph Curry being out. But Utah wins. Donovan Mitchell looks fantastic. Yeah. And the big 3 for Oklahoma City go 0 for 14 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But with Donovan Mitchell, with Gobert possibly being the Defensive Player of the Year,
right,
how much of a chance do you give the Jazz to crash this Western Conference party?
I think they have a chance. I mean, obviously, Donovan Mitchell has been a great surprise for us this season, been amazing every night, has not disappointed since he came on the scene. I think Gobert coming back in the lineup has been incredible for their defense. He plugs up the paint very well. And obviously, I don't expect the big 3 to, score 2 points in the fourth quarter ever again. That may never happen again, but it happened last night. And credit, Utah's defense. We don't want to take them out of it. But at the end of the day, Utah's got a shot. I mean, this series might go 6 or 7, and we'll find out in games 3 or 4 who's on top of that.
Carlos Boozer with us in studio. So obviously, Russell Westbrook was the MVP a year ago. He didn't have a great night, especially in the fourth quarter. James Harden looks like he's going to be the MVP. Just out of curiosity, if you had a vote, would it be Harden? Would it be Westbrook for a second straight triple-double season, or would it be LeBron?
I believe James Harden's going to win it, but I would pick LeBron. I'm just impressed, like, as far as totality goes, the totals go. He has more points, more rebounds, more assists, more triple-doubles.
Played every game.
More steals, played every game, more minutes in his 15th season on a team where they revamped the entire roster midway through. But his level of play continued to excel. And obviously, I think James Harden probably wins the award this year. He's been very great for the last 3 or 4 years. He's been a phenomenal player for the last 3 or 4 years. He deserves an MVP. But if I was picking, I would pick LeBron.
It's the Michael Jordan effect, right?
Yeah, no question.
You're the best player in the league, you're just not going to win the MVP.
And let's be clear. If LeBron wanted to, he could lead the league in scoring every year.
Yeah.
Who's going to stop the guy? Nobody's going to. Only him. So at the end of the day, I think it goes to James Harden. But if it was my pick, I'd pick LeBron.
Okay, by the way, I think I'm with you there. I mean, look, nothing against James Harden.
Nothing.
He's been great, but
he's been phenomenal.
You know, if you take LeBron off this team, where are they?
Yeah.
I mean,
also,
value.
To your point, though, James Harden is playing with better players than LeBron's playing with. LeBron's playing with less.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially without Kyrie being there.
Look at last night. James Harden went 2 of 18. They still won by 20. Right. Find me a game against a quality opponent where LeBron goes 2 of 18 and they win by 1.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. So we've seen this before from James Harden. Not doing well in the postseason. Obviously, it's a different year. It's a different team. They cruised despite him struggling. But when we saw the flame out last year against San Antonio, and then in game 2 of 18, it's sort of like, okay, what's going on here? What's your level of concern with Harden in the postseason?
I'm not. I mean, they're up 2-0 in the series. I think he ends up probably having 30 points the next game. The thing about it is he's probably playing with the best roster he's had since he's left Oklahoma City. Like his team, they got the 6th man of the year and Eric Gordon over there. They got Capella, who's having a breakout season, probably maybe most improved, maybe Oladipo, but he's got to be in the running for that as well. And he's playing with a Hall of Fame point guard in Chris Paul. So I feel like, moving on to, and they're going to need him obviously on the road. No, clearly. So I feel him having a huge bounce back game. And my level is not very high because this isn't a closeout game. This is just game 2, which they won by 20.
Right.
If this happens it looks like we're going to have a Golden State, Houston collision in the Western Conference Final. If this happens in that series, then I'd be a little concerned.
We're going to got about a 30
and a loss.
Right. We're going to have about 30 seconds left. Is Toronto different enough to you this year that you think they can actually get over the hump?
Absolutely. They look very good. Their bench looks very good too. And the way Cleveland's playing, they're having a hard time getting stops. Toronto's a very good offensive team.
And again, let's not forget Boston.
Yeah, Boston.
Brad Stevens has done he's not.
He has, but you really only think they can go so far with
look, he's not going to win Coach of the Year, but you can make a very compelling case that he should. Just like you could make a very compelling case that Carlos Boozer should wear that suit.
He could be the best dressed guest we've had in studio.
Well,
and
that's
you really could.
And the drastic comparison is not good for us.
No.
So you know what? Get the hell out.
Yeah, time for you to go.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks so much.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
Dan Dakich, 107.5 and 1070 The Fan in Indy, joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Okay, Dan, Cav fans are like, whew, thank goodness we got a win. What are Pacer fans feeling right now after a game where they actually were down big but had a chance to walk out of there with a 2-0 lead, both of those being on the road?
I think pretty good. Mark Boyle, who is really respected here, he's the team's announcer, put it out last night. He said, you got to feel good because you're on the road, you won one, and it took a Herculean effort by James, particularly in the first, 6 minutes of the game, to beat you. So I think pretty good. Trey, truth is, most Pacer fans feel like the Pacers are the better team. I mean, and but you got to play better, and you got to beat LeBron in the fourth quarter, man. I mean, you can beat him once, you can play him well a second time at home, at least for the last 3 quarters. But at the end of the day, you got to beat the guy 3 more times in the fourth quarter. And I think although Pacer fans feel good, I was reading my emails before I came on. There's still the same thing I've been saying, but you got to beat them in the fourth, man, and that is not easy.
Yeah, I know. When you and I were tweeting in game 1, I think there was one of the last things you tweeted was you got to beat them in the fourth, and they were able to do that in game 1. But last night, not so much. And the Pacer fans, and I would imagine rightfully so, say, hey, we don't get enough respect from the national media. They only had one nationally televised game. So for those out there that may not know, because I agree, I think overall team-wise, the Pacers are a better team. How good is this team compared to the rest of the East?
Mike, they're everyday guys. You know what I mean? Like, they're a really good team. Are they as talented as everybody? No, probably not. But, man, I keep talking about this. Getting rid of Paul George. With Paul George, there was always drama. It didn't matter. There was always I against them, his own team. It was always drama. Well, Oladipo comes in and Sabonis. It's like a college team. It really is. And you saw yesterday, man, LeBron is killing them. They can't get the ball across half court to start the game. Oladipo picks up 2 fouls, but they just keep playing. And that's exactly what they do, Mike. They just keep playing. Now, Nate McMillan, I don't know what he was thinking early in the game, starting Thaddeus Young on LeBron. I mean, LeBron, we got to rethink that one because I don't care what kind of team you are. You put the wrong guy in LeBron, you saw what happened, 16 straight. But, Mike, they're a fun team. They're a good team. They play basketball the way people that like basketball like to see play, and they're everyday guys. They don't take games off. And you know what? Oladipo's captured the city, man, because he's been very vocal about, I wanted to come here. This is my town. I'm going to represent it right. Indiana fans embraced me when I was at IU. I know how much they love basketball. I want to represent it. It's been a great, great thing here. So different from the last 2 years where, quite frankly, people couldn't watch. People didn't go.
All right, so let me take it to the next step from the Pacers side of it. Everything you did to explain the Pacers sounds good, but when you talk about an NBA championship team, that doesn't sound like that. So if they're to get to that point, and everybody wants to have a championship team, are they a team, A, that can get a big-time free agent to come there, and B, if not, how can they what's the next step for them to make this a team to contend in the East and then contend for the title?
Yeah, are they a championship team? They have a bad matchup. Like, I think they're as good as anybody in the East right now, except for the matchup with Toronto. Now, moving forward, you got to do what they did back in the early 2000s when they got to the NBA Finals. You know, they kept their star there. They kept Reggie Miller in Indiana. So let's just take that as Oladipo. And as they continue to draft, they drafted guys that maybe Dale Davis, Antonio Davis, where they had to send him overseas for a year. Big, strong, athletic, smart guys. And I think now, Mike, moving forward with Oladipo, I think that they've got their Reggie Miller in place, which is the hardest thing to do. But you got to add. And will free agents come here? You know, I've always gotten a kick out of that. People say no, and I say, all right, well, you know, the number one star in football played here, Peyton Manning. It didn't seem to hurt his endorsements. You know, and take Peyton Manning as opposed to a guy like Patrick Ewing playing in New York. I don't know. It seemed like Peyton Manning did pretty good in terms of national endorsements. You know, but Mike, I've been to Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is a nice town. You know, it's fine. I've been to Milwaukee. I mean, most of these NBA towns, when you take out L.A., I don't know, San Francisco, maybe Dallas. I mean, Indy's right there with all of them. So they have some money. They have the star, the guy that's embraced the place. So I think you can continue to build it, Mike. But for this year, because Hayward's out, because Kyrie Irving's out in the East, they got bad matchup with Toronto, but there's nobody else that I think the Pacers go, oh, man, you know, that's tough on us.
Dan Dakich with us from ESPN 1070 The Fan, former Indiana player, Indiana coach. And by the way, just not that you are lacking for confidence in any way, shape, or form, but I just want to put it out there. The date was 9:23 at night, November 1st, 2017. Dan Dakich tweet, quote, Pacers stole Oladipo and Sabonis from OKC. Tip of the cap to you, sir.
Well, you know, as you said, you know, I knew the date. But anyway, no, you know, when I looked at it and I saw Oladipo average 17 playing with Russell Westbrook, and I knew Oladipo. I covered the Big Ten. I'm at Indiana a lot, so I know Oladipo's work and how good a guy he was. And let's be honest, you were inside locker rooms. I mean, there's a lot of talented guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys, but what separates them is two things. Number one, how hard are they going to work? And number two, how tough is their mind? You know, I mean, are they going to wilt? And Vic's not the biggest guy, but he is among the most athletic, and he's tough as hell. But when I saw he averaged 17 playing with Russell Westbrook, that's a lot, playing with a guy like Westbrook, who obviously dominates the ball and is such a dominating personality. I thought he could average 23, and I knew getting rid of Paul George, we just weren't going to have the drama here. And you know, here's the other thing. Now, you know, Indiana fans will tell you this. Paul George went 0 for 18. 0 for 18 in his career, shooting the ball under a minute to go, up one, down one, or tied. Never made a game-winning shot. Indiana fans will tell you the only time he's made a game-winning shot is in a Gatorade commercial where they put him in a situation where he made a game-winning shot. Oladipo comes in, he's made 6 in 1 year. So that's big in the playoffs, man, and that's who Vic is.
You know, ending on this, watching that game last night, seeing LeBron do what he did in the beginning of that game. Dan, you've been around basketball a long, long time. You're a really old guy who's seen a lot of basketball.
Wait a minute. Are you insulting him or congratulating him? I'm not sure.
I was trying to be funny mean to him, but just seeing what he did in this year where he played all 82 games, 15th year in the league, I mean, are there any more new adjectives to how good he is as a player?
Hey, first off, I graduated college in 1985. When did you graduate, big boy?
1985. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
By the way,
yeah,
that makes 3.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd add MVP to it. I think he's MVP of the league, Mike. Look, I get that we're, back when Jordan was rolling, we had to give it to Karl Malone or whatever you had to do occasionally. But to me, this year, LeBron James, by every standard, I mean, look at what he's playing with. I mean, again, J.R. Smith pretty good last night. Korver might be as old as us, Mike. Look what he's playing with. Look what he's doing. Look at the numbers. I would add MVP 2018 and move on. I would add that to his resume because I think he is.
Dan, you are preaching to the choir here. Yep. I mean, James Harden went 2 of 18, and the Rockets still won by 20. Imagine what the score would have been last night.
Hey,
LeBron went 2 of 18.
James Harden can't guard me. I'm 55, fat and bald. James Harden worse yet, James Harden can't guard Golic. Hey, I saw him playing a celebrity game.
Oh,
James Harden, my backside.
Oh, all right.
Well, there you go.
So I guess we don't need to ask the question, hey, how do you feel about James Harden?
No, I think we answered that.
I think that one's covered.
Asked and answered.
All right, Dan, we appreciate it. We'll see what happens in Game 3 in Naptown. Appreciate you being with us.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Our next guest, yes, you know him and love him from his college game day experience and, of course, calling college football games in the national championship game and the playoffs. You all know that, but Kirk Herbstreit now is going to be part of the NFL draft experience, and he joins us in the zone, brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. So, Herbie, the first question's got to be, how in the zone are you for your first ever draft experience, which can be a little overwhelming with all the things that are coming at you?
Oh man, I'm fired up. It was fun to go to Baltimore with you guys last week and kind of have a chance to listen to everybody kind of break it down. And I've been a fan of the draft for years, and to be a part of it's going to be a lot of fun. And it'd be interesting. My take is a little bit more of the college experience. You know, we're going to do a 2-hour game day prior to the draft outside of the stadium. I think Corso is going to don a headgear of some sort. I have no idea who he's going to put on. I don't know if it's Roger Goodell or a player. I don't know what he's doing, but so we'll have a kind of a traditional game day outside in the crowd, and then come inside to join you guys. And so I'm fired up, man. It's going to be a great time, and a lot of these guys I've had a chance to get to know and watch them grow from their freshman year all the way up to now having a chance to live out a dream and walk across that stage. So to be there firsthand and be a part of it is very cool.
Herbie, not that you need any advice on this at all, but Trey's been doing it for a while, and I did the draft for a few years as well, and I found that if ever there's a question or you're not sure which direction it's going, just look over and say, Mel?
That's exactly right.
I've been practicing that, actually. Yeah. I've been, Trey looks at me, I look at Mel. Yeah. Boom, and away we go.
That's exactly right.
I know my marching orders, absolutely. I don't know how he does it. And we were in a meeting last week, and somebody, it might have been me, somebody challenged him on something, and he talks so fast, and Trey finally just was like, we were all listening to him, and Trey just was like, dude, my God, you're talking so fast, and you're like, the sad part is I've been around you so long, I actually understand you. That's the problem we have. So I'm hoping to kind of push his buttons and bring that side of him out a little bit.
Oh, you're right, though. I mean, literally, it was the first – I'm glad you brought that up. It was like the first 5 minutes of the meeting, he started going, and then because he started talking about Josh Allen and people on the negatives, and he got a little more amped up. Like, how could you do this about Josh Allen? You don't know what you're talking about. I mean, he was going 100 miles an hour. His face was almost purple. I'm like, Mel, take a breath. We need you for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of next week.
Exactly. My goal is 3 or 4 of those within the 5 or 6 hours that we're on. If I can get 3 or 4 of those out of him, then I think it's a win. That's the over-under for me.
So, looking at this draft, Herbie, obviously it's a quarterback-heavy draft, and what I want from you is the comparison now of you break these guys down when they're playing college, but you also watch the pro game, and it seems that the gap is closed on what they're doing in college to what they're asked to do in the NFL. If more NFL teams are incorporating their college way they play into the NFL. Do you see that as well, and how much does that help some of these quarterbacks from college to the pro transition?
Yeah, I mean, 5-7 years ago, I think the most people viewed this quarterback position as a head scratcher because the NFL is running NFL systems, and they're inheriting these spread quarterbacks that have a very hard time adjusting to the NFL game. So I think scouting them and evaluating them and trying to figure out how they fit was really, really tough. And I think finally the NFL just said to heck with it. And I think the NFL game, more than ever before, is actually trending more to the college game and these college offenses. A great point about that is Lincoln Riley, who I talk to quite frequently just about offense. The guy's a genius offensive mind, whether it's college or pro. And he said, in the past, I might have 1 or 2 teams that would come in and when they're evaluating our players and talk to me about my offense. And a lot of that time it was the Patriots. And he said now it's up in the upper 20s when teams come in, they want to pick his brain about offense. And so I think that tells you, because right now Oklahoma, you could make an argument of setting the bar for offenses in college. It tells you a lot about how these NFL coaches, coordinators, head coaches, GMs are saying, hey, instead of trying to figure out Lamar Jackson, for example, or Baker Mayfield, whoever it is, let's try to get him to drop 7-step under center. How about we tweak our offense to his strengths? And I think that's what you saw. Great examples with Jared Goff from his rookie year to his second year with Sean McVay. I thought they did a great job of taking advantage of his skill set. Of course, with Todd Gurley in the backfield helped, but I thought he looked like a different guy this year. Nick Foles, when he got put in, everyone was like, well, Eagles season's over. What an incredible job that they did in adjusting their offense to his skill set. So I think it's a great move. I think it's smart because the college game is not changing. So I think the NFL is realizing they've got to tweak some things and become less traditional, less, dropping 7 steps from under center. And I think it's working out. And it makes this draft with these 4 or 5 guys really interesting.
It certainly does, and that goes to what Herm Edwards has always said. Any plan that can't be changed is a bad plan, and you have to be able to manage what your talent is and try and get the most out of it. Kirk Herbstreit with us, our ESPN college football analyst, who will be a big part of the draft with us Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of next week. Herbie, I know that you're big on Baker Mayfield. You loved his competitive juices. You love the way he attacks. But he had there was an article in the Monday Morning Quarterback that came out this week on Sports Illustrated where he admitted that when he had a meeting with the Chargers, he didn't study the playbook as much as he had said. And then he said, I've got a lot on my plate. I have to prioritize which playbooks I'm going through. What do you make of that answer?
Probably not the best answer. Yeah. Then I think he even said no offense to them. There was another comment. It's one of those things where and I don't even know who his agent is, but I'm sure because of some of the off-the-field issues, part of his maturity and development when they sit down with him and talk about, making that next step to the NFL, they probably talk as much about that. In fact, I think I saw Chad Pennington working with him, in that regard, getting ready for the combine. I've fallen in love with not just his competitive spirit, kind of that flamboyant style, that it factor that you like to see from quarterbacks, but I think people don't quite appreciate his ability to process information, recognize defenses, have incredible accuracy, whether it's mid-range throws or even especially downfield. He does everything that you want to see from a quarterback. What you have to come to grips with is, he's a guy that, if he gets in front of the media, there's 12 guys badgering him. He's one of these guys that you can light a fuse. Let's say he throws a pick to cost the team the game. Where he's going to have to work on his game is standing there and taking it and not fighting back, not, what do you mean by that? And having these moments where he says what he actually thinks. You need a little bit of Bull Durham when it comes to playing that position in my mind. And I'm all about, saying what you think at times, but I thought that came off, especially with his reputation for some people. I thought it came off, not in his best interest, especially a week away from the draft.
I agree 1,000% with what you said. Hey, correlated to the NFL and standing in front of the media. I just didn't get when you said I have a lot on my plate. What do you have on your plate? Your plate right now is auditioning and interviewing for
job
teams.
Interview.
So
my guess on that, Mike, the only thing I can think of, because I've been thinking about that, is, first of all, what if the Chargers with Phillip Rivers aging, what if they, for whatever reason, decide to move up?
Yep. There you go. Exactly.
I think you can never underestimate any experience, any team that's talking to you, any team that takes the time to talk to you has got to be a priority. I think what he meant is, the Jets or the Giants or the Browns or all these teams that are maybe up there, he's thinking that I'm trying to do the best I can to let those guys know that I'm consuming everything that they're giving me. I'm guessing. I haven't spoken to him. I'm guessing maybe that's what he meant. But you got to realize, I don't care who's talking to you. There's a very good chance that if you impress them, they're going to say, man, we got to go get this guy, and they can move up and get him. So definitely a mistake and something I'm sure he wishes he wouldn't have said.
As you're on the road and calling games and talking to tons of players through the season, how much is brought up of players and going to the NFL or looking forward to the NFL, or is it just really, do they really stick about the game that you're going to do and talk about, or are they looking ahead to their next chapter?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think the great teams have players that are single-minded focus on winning. And coaches, the teams that consistently win, whether it's Alabama, Ohio State, I think you can throw Georgia now with what Kirby Smart's doing, Clemson, I think they do a really good job of finding guys that everybody has a dream when they're middle school, high school, and they're clearly superior to their peer group. Man, one day, my dream's I'm going to the NFL. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of guys that they don't even care where they go to school. It's 3-year pit stop on their way to the NFL, and they'll never come back to that school. That's just a reality. There's that guy that's out there. But I think the teams that become perennial powers are the teams that find individual players that, sure, man, we want you to have those dreams. Shoot for the stars. But by the way, while you're here, we're going to put that on the back burner, and we're going to go win the Big Ten, or we're going to go win the SEC. That's the priority when you're here. And if you can't buy into that, you need to go somewhere else. So I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag, Mike. I think the teams that win have players that really do a great job of trying to put everything they have into that experience. Roquan Smith's a great example. He just came to my mind at Georgia. I'm in love with this kid's game and the personality. And when you sit down with him in a production meeting, I mean, when you get done talking to him, you just want to hug him and just say, I wish every player in the game were like you. I mean, he is just all about winning. And his game is off the charts. And yet he's not peeking ahead. He's focused on, man, I got to stop Baker Mayfield. They win that game. Man, we got to knock off Alabama. We got to win the national championship. And I'm the guy. I'm the alpha. I'm the leader. And so I think it's a mixed bag, but I think you would find most players at the real high level have been focused on just trying to be the best team they can be and best player they can be at the college level.
Boy, Roquan, outside of the first half against Oklahoma, might have been the best player
Tackling
in the entire college playoff, the second half of the Rose Bowl, and also in the national championship game. Herbie, we appreciate the time. We're looking forward to it next week, and I know the draft and what's coming ahead will ease your pain of the start of the Reds, who fired their manager this morning.
Oh, man, they fired their manager today, Brian Price, only 2 weeks too late. So.
See, that's what we need on the draft, right there. That's what we need Thursday night. Herbie, look forward to it. See you in Dallas, my friend.
See you down there.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.